There, now you all should get a notification. Hi, everybody.
That's great. Thank you.
Great. Oh, it's so good to see. I see so many familiar, beautiful faces, and there's going to be some new ones on. And let everyone else in here. Few. Maybe what we could do is for those of you that I have met before, or you're part of the Equus Empowered community already, can you put a little hi in the chat and maybe even let some of our new people know what they might expect from our gathering today or anything going forward? Just whatever comes into mind. Oh, there's Sarah. She says, I'm not part of your herd yet, but soon. Glad to be here. For those of you that haven't met Sarah yet, she has an amazing training on safety protocols within our equine assisted professional settings. So she'd be someone great for you to contact. And Miranda, thank you. Miranda says, hey, I've been with Leah for a while now and love the relationship this work has opened up for me and my herd. Yeah, thanks, Miranda. And Wendy, it's an inspiring space to be in. Thanks, Wendy. Kim Shook, who is the head of the EAL Academy in the US. I'm in Alberta, Canada. Says it's wonderful to be here and I'm excited to hear about these sacred interactions between people and horses. I've taken Leah's Equus Empowered course and it's amazing. Thank you so much. Then we are going to get started. And so welcome to everybody. I'm so grateful to you that you took the time out of your day to spend a little time. I intend that it's a conversation during the presentation. So there's going to be a few times where you can type some things in the comments in response to some prompts. And then at the end, there is a question and answer period. So any questions you have that come up, that notebook that I mentioned maybe to bring, feel free to just jot it down and let's chat about all of that at the end. We are recording and I will also send the recording out to all of you and anyone that couldn't attend live in the next few days along with some pertinent information. Okay, so again, I'm really honored that you're here, honored to spend this time and space with you, and especially in terms of these offerings from horse to human. And that's what we're going to speak about today. So today we are speaking about something many equine professionals and serious horsemen and women quietly sense, but we don't always have the clear language for. You might not call it energetic exchange or even recognize it as such yet, but you might just feel that there is something more happening here within these exchanges with your horses. So you've experienced moments where a horse approaches with clear intention, their posture shifts, proximity shifts, focus narrows, and physical and vibrational interactions unfold. Something meaningful begins to take shape. We're going to delve into that a little more deeply. So it's something that you feel in your body, you see it in the horse, and you notice it in your clients if you are a professional in this setting. You might hesitate to name it, however. You don't want to project meaning and you don't want to override the horse or appear ungrounded. But you just may not yet have a structured way to interpret and to receive what you might be perceiving. So you'll also notice in the presentation that there are pictures, and I might have to make this one smaller for you so you can read this one. For example, you'll see in the bottom right corner of each picture that there will be a credit to those horses and also the incredible people that are part of my Equus Empowered program already that share photographs and images of the experiences that they have with their horses. So this training is for those who already sense that depth and are ready to refine how you recognize, translate, and ethically hold it. We're going to just touch on the very, very tip of the iceberg, just the highlights from my level 1 Equus Empowered program, where we're going to dive into some resources for increased understanding, communication, and partnership with our horses. I am continuing to build a full certification with levels 2 and 3, but this is just the foundational pieces of the first one. A little bit about me for those who haven't So we haven't met in person or even maybe online before. It is really important to me to be attuned to horse culture. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what is horse culture in service of human development and equine well-being and how those go hand in hand. I myself am certified in equine assisted learning. I'm also a Reiki master and a generational and lifetime horse person. There's never been a day in my life without horses. They have been my greatest mentors and teachers. And because of that, I really value the intrinsic character and the sentience of horses. So I am driven to be of service to them and then also their human counterparts. I believe in empowering people in all levels, so spirit, mind, and body. And this can be very sacred work. Connection is incredibly important to me, which is why I really wanted to do a live webinar with you all where we can interact and see each other. And then also that attunement piece. So being very tuned in, both in the senses that our body gives us, also our intuitive senses. And that's built in throughout this program. And how there is an interconnectivity of all beings. So myself, I came up through Pony Club. I have experience from eventing to show jumping to trail riding, and I'm kind of starting a new journey of doing everything at liberty and bridleless. I have a little interest in reining and ranch riding, but I would come at it from a probably non-conventional way, much more bridleless and liberty-minded. I was a breeder of upper level show jumpers for a long time and managed a large reproduction department at an equine surgical and full veterinary hospital. So horses are a huge part of my everyday life. I also have a special interest in integrating holistic therapies, vibrational naturopathic medicine with some Western medicine. And my goal is to ripple these powerful effects out. So this is what we're going to delve into a little more today. How horses facilitate wellness and a sacred balance through a method of guidance and exchange that allows us to both observe and allow for shifts in our own vibrational, spiritual, physiological, and emotional reactions. It's a building block format, kind of same idea as the Equus Empowered program. So you'll get a feel of it as we go through. So just trust that it's a process that's leading somewhere, and we will get started. This is how I like to start all my interactions with horses, but certainly the interactions where we're going to invite them into any type of work with us, but especially these types of energetic exchange work. So it's also something very helpful, wise for us to do with any clients that we have before we start these interactions. So any kind of grounding practice, this is one that I like. There are many options, and we're just going to go through this little one today and get us regulated and ready. So I'm going to walk you through what we're going to do, and then we're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to start with a cleansing breath. So you're already seated, just get comfortable. If you'd like, close your eyes. If you don't, no problem. What you're going to do is breathe in through your nose. And as you breathe in through your nose, you're going to press your belly out. You're going to fill the bottom of your lungs first and then the top. And you're going to set the intention that you're going to breathe in all the positive, wonderful, loving, uplifting, high vibrational things that are available to us. And then you're going to breathe out audibly through your mouth. And you're going to press your belly in as you do. And again, set the intention to release anything that no longer serves you. You're just going to let all of that go. So I'm going to walk you through it now, and you can start. So you're going to breathe in now deeply through your nose, press your belly out for the bottom of your lungs and the top. Hold, breathing in all the positive things. And now you're going to breathe out audibly through your mouth. Press your belly in and just let it all go. Breathe in one more time deeply from the belly. Breathe in all the positive, high vibration, wonderful things. And breathe out audibly. Release anything that no longer serves you. And a breath in again, one more time in, filling yourself all the way up. And then releasing your breath and let it all out. Lovely. So we're going to do the next set of breathing, and this was to help ground us. So close your eyes again if you'd like to. We're going to breathe in the same way, This time though, when we breathe out, we're going to breathe out through our nose. And you're going to press your belly in. And as you do that, you're going to send roots from your feet or your seat bones deep and wide into the earth. You're going to feel how heavy and deeply connected to the ground you are. Okay, so go ahead and breathe in through your nose, press your belly out, fill in the bottom of your lungs, breathing all positive high vibration. And now breathe out through your nose and press your belly in. As you breathe out, send those roots deep and wide, way into the ground. You're going to breathe in deeply again, positive high vibration, loving white light, and breathe out, sending all that breath and energy deeply down into the ground. On this next breath in, breathe in from the ground as well as everything from the earth. Fill yourself up. And now breathe out through your nose, deep, wide, grounded. Awesome. Okay, we're going to go to the next step here. Now that our nervous system is regulated, okay, so that helps us to regulate our nervous system. In terms of a client setting, it helps a client as well. It also sets up the space for our horses to begin these interactions, and we'll dive into that shortly. So we're going to talk a little bit about an introduction to energy and the associated scientific theories. And I mention them as theories because science generally is about creating a hypothesis and either proving or disproving that hypothesis. So it can change. However, there are a few laws, and we are going to talk about one of those now. So this is something that we've learned, most of us in elementary or junior high, about the first law of thermodynamics. When we understand this bridge within herd culture, the human interaction becomes less mysterious. So from a scientific perspective, if we follow the first law of thermodynamics, we know that energy is never created or destroyed, only transformed. So in any interaction, energy shifts. And when a horse initiates an intentional energetic exchange, we are witnessing this transformation from the first law of thermodynamics. This happens within the nervous system, within the fascia, within vibrational systems. So these layers are not separate, and they are expressions of the same underlying process. So all the energy that has ever been in the world is still here. It can never be destroyed, it never can be created, but we are transforming, using, moving, manipulating, transmuting it all the time, and so are the horses. We'll just go one step further to Einstein's theory of special relativity. We probably all have seen this E equals mc squared, which is energy equals mass multiplied by the speed of light squared. Well, what does that mean? And how does this apply? So really, what we're getting to is that this equation expresses the fact that mass and energy are the same physical entity, and can be changed into each other. So in other words, if we just break it down, all matter is energy. So then our bodies, following the laws of science, are made of energy, vibrating at a particular frequency. We have our own measurable biomagnetic field, and like all energy, that can be manipulated or channeled, transmuted, transformed. And we know research is really gaining speed about the electromagnetic field of all living things, as well as the pathways for which this energy is transferred within the body. We'll talk a tiny bit about that and how it correlates to our interactions with the horses. So all of us have fascia. Every mammal, every being has fascia. It is the connective tissue that is everywhere in our body. Within the fascia is a myofascial system, and it is a mesh of tube-like structures. It's filled with fine fluid and functions like an energetic superhighway. This system carries signals in the form of tiny electrical light impulses called biophotons. Biophotons are the smallest sparks of conscious energy. They allow all the cells throughout the body to communicate with each other. So biophotons are tiny. We have to magnify them 30,000 times to be able to see them. But this energy of biophotons are constantly carrying messages and information. They are moving throughout our electromagnetic fields and our physical body through the fascia in the form of light. And this light is everywhere. It's vibrating at different speeds and is imperceptible to the limited capabilities of our basic five senses. So here's where we start to bridge it. So within us, the myofascial system has 7 major points, and you can see it in the diagram there with the blue bands, where there are more fascia. This fascia corresponds to the 7 main energy centers or chakras. So with the increase in fascia in that area, we know there are more biophotons, which means there is a larger energy hotspot in that area. So really what this does is just blends the Eastern and Western medicine concepts that we have known for centuries in Eastern medicine especially. So in short, we are energetic beings, as are horses. We're going to talk just a little bit about the chakras or energy centers. And why do we even need to know about them in these interactions? It's really to empower our knowledge. It gives a clear indication as to why the horse is focusing on specific areas on the human body, also on the horse's body or any other being they come into contact with. And we'll delve more into that. So this really can allow for some deep self-reflection and insight for ourselves when we allow the horses in our lives to work on us this way. And it also can be facilitated in client interactions. When we take responsibility for ourselves, we initiate positive change and growth for ourselves and can be facilitated for our clients. We also notice that the horse pays attention to this and affects them positively as well. So all of this really starts to create greater connection, partnership, and attunement. Okay, so we're talking about our chakras and a little bit about a definition in terms of function. So we know that chakras are a vortex of spinning energy. They have various physiological and neurological systems in the body that they interact with. This relates back to the myofascial system with the energy hotspots containing more tubes, hence vibration and energy. There are 7 main chakras. Now we know, for those of you that are familiar with chakras, we know there are many more, but for this presentation, we talk about just the 7 main ones. They start at the base of the spine through the crown of the head, and each has a main function that correlates to physical, emotional, and spiritual health. If you're new to chakras and chakra work, this is a helpful chart. It lets you know the location, the name, the color or vibration associated, and really importantly, the main function of each chakra. And that is going to help guide us through these interactions with our horses. So if anyone is new to this, feel free to put in the chat, and if you'd like this chart and I can send it to you, just put chakra chart and I'll make sure to send that to you. Or feel free even just to take a screenshot or a picture of it now, if that's helpful to you. I'll leave it there just for a second. Okay, so the next element that is pertinent for us is to recognize that horses, all beings, also have chakras. They have the same 7, and they are running parallel rather than perpendicular to the ground as in humans. So we're going to talk a little bit about herd culture here. Specifically, what I in my community call mutual balancing. So we see some specific markers in horse culture. On the surface, it's often described as simple social bonding. When we slow down and start to observe closely, something more precise and profound becomes visible. So we'll notice one horse approaches with intention, their posture shifts, proximity adjusts, attention narrows, and the interaction becomes patterned. They do not engage randomly. They repeatedly focus on specific areas of the body, areas that directly relate to the vibrational system. So we note that permission is asked and granted. And we note that this is not casual contact. It is coordinated and purposeful. So horses are prey animals. In their embodied physical safety is of the highest priority. If one herd member is dysregulated or out of balance, it increases vulnerability. It may draw predator attention. It affects the vigilance and safety of the whole group. So horse culture includes self-regulation, co-regulation, and mutual balancing, individually, between herd members, and within their environment. They actively work to maintain safety both within themselves and within the herd. There is also an important interconnectivity element associated as well, and we delve more deeply into that in the full program. So when we understand that, intentional energetic exchange in horse-human interaction becomes much more clear. When we see horse to horse and become aware of what's happening and why and how, then we start to recognize even more clearly when a horse is offering the same interaction from horse to human. So again, horses are prey animals. Their main embodied focus is safety. They're attuned to their environment, all the beings in it, in order to stay safe, if we're just looking at them as physical beings at this moment. They work on and keep each herd member balanced. If a herd member is out of balance, again, they may attract predator attention. So horses balance each other as part of their culture. That's why it is incredibly important that horses have access to each other, that they are able to be in herds with area to roam and graze and interact freely with each other in order to be well and balance themselves. They also will offer the same to any being, human included, that is open to receiving. So we'll dive into that a little bit more. Horse people, we're all familiar with this term, mutual grooming. We've all seen horses vigorously scratching at each other, but the importance is really to investigate a little further. So if we investigate further, we typically observe that horses mutually groom in particular placements that correlate with chakras. Most often, we do see them creating and reestablishing bonds at the heart chakra or the withers. In the picture here, you can see where I've got the green dot placed to represent the heart chakra. Heart chakra main function is love of self and others, also healing. So horses will work all of the chakras as needed, as well as many of the other associated energy meridians throughout the body. They release blockages, increase energy flow, reduce energy flow if there's an abundance, and help create alignment and balance. It really is mutual balancing. If we think about it, who's so itchy at the same time in the same place? So it might present as an itch, which by definition really is just an abundance or stasis of energy in an area. And horses do perceive, however, that the flow of energy in that area could use some assistance, and they will work symbiotically for each other and themselves to move this energy in a way that is mutually beneficial. This can relate to both physical and emotional, spiritual energy, and of course, the associated benefit to having all of that in balance. These are just some pictures that you may have noticed in your own horses. You can see in the picture on the right, and it might be just a little bit covered up for you all. I wonder if I can just make it be me here. Here we go. And open up a little more space for you to be able to see. You can see the gray mare is working at the throat of the little bay mare. So physically the throat, but specifically the throat chakra. And then you see the little bay mare working at actually heart chakra, or the chest of the gray mare. So when we start to pull this apart, we know there is something more going on here. Throat main function is communication, so both outwardly and inwardly, specifically truth. And heart, again, is love of self and others and also healing. So we know there is something loving communication about this interaction, opening of heart for the gray mare, opening of communication for the bay mare. And as you continue to delve in much more deeply, this will give you a lot of insight into what's going on for those individual horses, for the herd itself, and also for the beings and environment around them. And these are things we delve into in the full program. This next slide will show you a little video. Oh, it's done it again. Of the gray horse working at sacral and root for the chestnut, and the chestnut working at sacral for the gray horse. If anyone knows the main functions of those, of those chakras, please feel free to put that in the chat. So you can see him, he moved from sacral to root, and this is common interactions. We're not going to touch much on this today, but horses will also work energy meridians in this particular interaction. The Palomino is working the bladder meridian for the chestnut horse, and we delve quite deeply into this interaction to learn quite a bit more about what's happening. How do we as humans feel when we observe this behavior? This is an important element. So it's useful to note that most people feel a sense of happiness or contentment when we observe horses working on each other. I have never met someone that says, oh, I hate that. I wish they'd stop it. I don't like it. Usually there is way much more a positive association. So this is important because even without conscious awareness, we are affected by the positive energetic work horses do. And there is a connectedness that all living things can access. We access it even further when we become aware and we begin to notice it and work with it ourselves to great benefit. So I just would ask you to kind of note to yourself right now, what do you notice in yourself when horses work on each other? And one of the reasons that we point this interaction out from horse to horse is because generally the horses who balance other horses are often the same ones who will reach out to people most comfortably in a similar manner. So the more you observe your own horses, the more you will become aware of when they may be offering to you. And we're going to go into that more fully. So there, of course, is the concept of entrainment. This happens when we are with horses. What is entrainment? It really is the adjustment of an internal rhythm of an organism so that it synchronizes with an external cycle, such as that of light and dark, or the energetic interactions between horse and human. And we do dive more deeply into that going forward as well. So here's a little place for you to put something in the comments. Do you notice mutual balancing in your own herds? And another place for you to kind of make a little internal anchor for yourself. How do you feel when you notice these interactions happening? So go ahead and just put them in the comments and we'll chat about that. I'll give you a minute or two. Okay, so we've got beautiful, calm sense of well-being. Miranda says, yes, I notice it all the time. Honored to be the witness of something so, oh, what a beautiful phrase. Something so minute, but grand all at the same time. Sarah says, mine do this all the time. And they do it with me now as well, now that I know to let them. Oh, I love that. And your 2-year-old Ricky Bobby, great name. He's extremely intuitive. Lisa, you certainly notice with my herd. Interesting to note that I've always had a positive feeling about it also. That's the really important element there. Oh, great. Okay. Oh, and Lisa says your very young colt is eager to engage. So that's an interesting element because young horses are often very engaging in this way. Sometimes they can feel a little more, I love your word there, eager. Whereas older horses who are very established in their herds and in their methods are maybe a little bit more grounded with it, but young horses can have that exuberance because they are learning this language, and they're also quite excited when they recognize that people too will share this language with them. So thank you so much for pointing that out. Okay, Leslie, thank you. You notice, you feel joy and contentment. Those are big, big words. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. I'd love for you to go out, just spend some time with your own horses and herds this week. Just observe them. Are they working on each other? What areas are they focusing on? Can you identify a chakra? Pay attention to which horses are working on other horses more than some of the rest of their herd mates. So as you observe these herd interactions and dynamics, watch also for how they ask permission to work on each other. You are going to see a respectful. Now that's a human word. Horses don't correlate respect or disrespect. That's very much a human construct. Horses are very, very present, and they are just paying attention to who is the most aware. But to use a human word so that we identify it, there will be a respectful, generally a slow approach, a soft eye, and a gentle reaching out. And this relates to how they will ask permission from a human as well. Again, we'll see the posture shift, a deliberate adjustment of proximity, focused attention, and patterned engagement. So watch for them balancing each other. Generally, they'll be working their muzzles and their teeth over specific areas, usually mutual, each one on a different spot on each horse, or standing with particular energy centers or chakras aligned. So how to recognize when your horse is offering to work on you or your clients and why. So some elements that come in here are boundaries and offering and connection. We're going to kind of clarify these foundational, intentional interaction markers. So when we say intentional energetic exchange, what do we actually mean? Because intentionality in the horse is observable. It has markers. First, directed orientation. The horse shifts posture and focus toward a specific individual, horse or human. Attention narrows. Second, there is a deliberate proximity shift. So distance is adjusted intentionally. Third, there's a patterned interaction. So there will be touch, breath, scanning, sustained focus, and it's repeated in specific areas. Fourth is that sustained engagement. The interaction continues long enough to indicate purpose. When these elements are present together, we are not observing random behavior. We are witnessing intentional energetic exchange. So we're going to talk about collaborative offering versus uncomfortable contact, because there is a very big difference between a horse barging into our space and making uncomfortable contact or disrespectful, in a human word, or a horse that is coming in with something to offer intentionally. So all of us are horse people. We've probably all heard, you never let a horse into your space. You definitely don't let them put their muzzle on you. And that is important. Those are important safety boundaries. If a horse is coming in to move you, move your feet, push you, that's different. We do want to create boundaries, but it is about becoming very tuned in to when a horse is offering, and those intentional markers can really start to help make that clear. So we could begin to discover when a horse is offering to work on us and asking to come into our space for this reason, as opposed to that uncomfortable contact, again, by becoming particularly observant. So horses, when they are well balanced themselves, will ask permission, both from us and horses, before they begin this work. They typically do so respectfully, again, a human word, which really just means acceptable herd behavior. So they'll approach generally with a lowered head, a soft eye, and they will align themselves generally directly with us, and they will gently reach out with their muzzle. That aligning directly with us is, again, something out of the norm, especially for prey animals. We know prey animals have eyes on the side of their head. Typically, everything they do is on a curve, but in these intentional interactions, horses that know they're allowed to interact with us this way often will approach straight on. And most commonly, the first place a horse will initiate contact in this modality is at the hands. So in the human, the heart chakra or meridian extends from the chest across the shoulders, down the arms, and into the hands. And this is an acceptable first offering of a heart connection. Now, this, of course, gives us the parameters that we don't hand feed our horses. So this is very different. If you're hand feeding your horse all the time and they're always going to your hands, this is different, but you will feel a shift if your horse is shifting into this modality. We also offer, horses can have treats and positive rewards. Generally, I will give my horses them on the ground rather than my hands, because this is a modality that I'd like to work in going forward. So by paying close attention to why the horse is offering to work on us and how, for our clients, we can start to examine our own physiological and emotional responses for those of our clients. This does offer great personal insight and empowers toward increased well-being and balance. It also allows for the vibrational shifts that the horses will initiate to take place. So this is a lovely lady who had an interaction with Vixen, this little bay mare, and you can see that Vixen is quite intentional at a place sort of between solar plexus and sacral. The main function of solar plexus, if anyone knows it, put it in the chat for us, and the main function of sacral, and I'll just share with you here. Sacral, solar plexus, the yellow, main function is essentially sense of self, so our sense of who we are, our personal power, self-discipline, self-insight. And then sacral, which is the orange, is generally about emotions, creativity, reproduction. So in this particular woman, when she shared her story, after we shared the information of the main function of those chakras, she then absolutely knew why the horse was interacting in that area. Our clients always know. So have you sensed something more happening with your horse? That there is maybe something to receive from them or to remember? So just briefly type your experience in the comments, and I'll give you a minute or two to do that. Oh, Lisa, you brought up a good point earlier. You said so many horses aren't in contact with other horses to perform this sacred ritual. And you're right, and it is incredibly important for their well-being. One of mine, Lisa says, consistently placed his muzzle on my head. Oh, and breathes in my face. Delve into that a little further. Where on your head? Forehead, top of your head? Is there a specific place on your face? Kim says, many experiences with my own horses. One of the most profound was an open mouth to my throat, and I was really struggling with my voice at that time. Really, really incredible. Kim, did you notice a shift in your ability to communicate after that? Lisa, you said upper. So would it be in relation to even the picture on this screen where we see the magenta blue dot on this man? That would be third eye, which is all about intuition, perception, tuning into your intuitive self, receiving information and communications from horses. My mini will interact with my throat and ear. That's a big one. So if it's throat and ear, what could we take away from that? If we know the main function of throat is communication. Yeah, Wendy, so many interactions that have been profound. Wendy has an incredible Facebook page for those of you who might like to follow along. It's called Fallbrook Stables. She has many pictures and videos of these exchanges that are so powerful with her and her clients. Miranda, how to listen to what our body needs. Yeah. Good ones. Thank you, everybody. We're going to just touch a little bit on a little bit more of the scientific element. We go much more deeply in the full program into this, but mirror neurons are something that really start to help explain these interactions with our horses. So they are a class of neuron that modulates their activity when an individual executes a specific motor act and when they observe the same or similar act performed by another individual. So all animals, including humans, we are just human animals, have mirror neurons. It is a type of brain cell that helps us to recognize and empathize, especially with emotion in other living things. It is known as resonance in interpersonal neurobiology. It's also how children learn to smile when we smile at them, or facial expressions. Mirror neurons really start to fire. So horses have millions or billions more mirror neurons than people do. This makes them experts at understanding nonverbal communication, and it enables them to empathize even more than people do. So they have a highly sensitive limbic system. That's the region of the brain responsible for emotions. They have a smaller neocortex. That's the area of the brain responsible for analytical thought. And we combine this with a refined system of nonverbal communication. We know horses do not speak like humans. They speak in other ways. Horses become an astute energy reader of their environment. It enables them to act almost like a biofeedback mechanism in their ability to detect human emotional states and to detect the vibrational shifts within us. So the horse is already a master at intuitive sensing, at sensory awareness, and cross-sensing. So once you, me, us, once we hone our own intuition and further understand equine culture and behaviors, the communication between horse and human becomes that telepathic type of connection. It's really what leads to that deep level of communication that so many of us want to have with our horses. So often I hear from people two things. One is, I just feel like there's something more, and I wish my horse could talk. I wish I could communicate with him. And these are the elements that start to bring all of those together. So our horses will help us with this when we allow them to balance us. So just like we were talking earlier, let's say they're working at third eye, main function is intuition to increase that ability. And when we interact with horse culture, so we really begin to understand these exchanges. Another part for you to put in comments. Have you noticed how your state shifts when in the presence of a horse? And importantly, if you're a facilitator, are you aware of how horses are facilitating that shift? I'll give you a minute to have a look in there. Oh, Wendy says, I have to go do evening chores. If you're considering doing Leah's course, do it. Don't think about it, just do it. Oh, so sweet. Thank you. It'll be one of the best things you ever do. Leah, I can't wait to see what you create next. I'm excited for it. Endless gratitude for you and Kim Shook. Absolutely. Sarah says, yes, my horse saved my life. I see it in every program I host as well. It's such an honor to witness. Wow, saved your life. That is really big. So does anyone else, have you noticed how your state shifts? And do you know how your horse is doing that? When we start to really understand how our horse is making these shifts, we then can set these spaces up even more so for these interactions with our clients and increase the service that we are offering even more so. Lisa says, I find working with my horses demands I be present, and I'm always reminded of this. Yeah, being very present, what a huge gift that is to ourselves and those around us. Calm, grounded, blissful. Those are, yeah. I'm going to do that right now. Calm, grounded, and blissful. It makes me inspired. Miranda says, horses are helping me to slow down, become more curious, and notice things I would have missed otherwise. Miranda, is that kind of in everyday life also, or mainly when you're with the horses? Sandy says, Sandy at Heart Retreat. She says, I really notice when I spend time just being with them as I'm doing my chores. Wow, when we're present and clear, and also in service. When I shift into the present, everything moves more smoothly. Miranda answered my question earlier. So both, she's saying patterns that come up all the time now. Lovely. Okay, let's move on. So we mentioned boundaries before, and this is starting when we start shifting into being a little more intentional ourselves about facilitating these types of interactions. So the thing to know is that horses naturally know how to work on and balance us. We know this because they do it in their own culture. We know it because of resonance and the mirror neurons, the electromagnetic fields. We also know because of there are some incredible studies that HeartMath has done, which probably a lot of you have had some exposure to. We go into that much more deeply in module 4, especially with HeartMath. What we note is now they will interact in more, but these are kind of the typical 4 ways that we will notice them interact. So the first one is physical contact. So with their muzzle, their lips, even their teeth, which we will facilitate. So there's lots of framework and boundaries around that. By aligning their own chakras with us. So again, resonance and adjusting biomagnetic fields. They will hold meditative space. So you'll often notice horses standing around snoozing together or holding meditative space. This is purposeful, and it also happens in interactions with people, and we delve much more deeply into that. The other thing that they also will do is work on another horse for our benefit or for the other beings in their environment. Sometimes we will have clients who come that maybe are afraid or don't want horses to be too close to them. You will note that that horse that is invested in working with that person may choose to work on another horse. So things to watch for and learn more about. Initially, often horses, when they're brand new to knowing they can work on humans, need some facilitation to just remember that we are humans, we're smaller and thinner skinned than they are, and we use clear and positive boundaries. So our horses will address physiology. So physical ailments, pain, injury, dis-ease. They will address vibrational systems in the form of chakras, meridians, fascia. Emotions and behaviors, so especially congruency, so that the inside is matching what the outside is presenting. Addiction is a big piece, and bringing out clear truth. They also will address emotional root causes, especially for physical manifestations or dis-ease. We know that there is an emotional component to almost every ailment, injury, dis-ease, and it is finding those emotional root causes, and horses are exceptional at that. So I'm going to give you one more piece of homework for the week. Start to allow, if you aren't already, intentionally your horses to work on you. Sit with your herds, observe them, and then allow these interactions. So be still, take your cleansing and grounding breaths, and trust your horse to do what horses do. It's an incredible honor to be the recipient of. Now you'll notice in this picture that the client is actually reaching out to the horse. When you have your horses work on you initially, try to avoid or resist that urge. Just try and have your hands at your side, standing still, taking your deep breaths, and allowing them to interact with you. Sometimes when we put our hand up, especially with horses that are maybe new to this or a little bit shut down previously, that can make them back off, or we might interrupt their intention. So you can always offer gratitude and love and appreciation after, but in those instances, just try to stand and allow. So again, you're going to watch for those intentional markers. The posture shift, so the lowered head, the soft eye, the deliberate adjustment of proximity. The horse will move closer and align directly. There will be focused attention, so either with their muzzle, with their breath, or they will align a chakra of their own with you, so a certain body part. Sometimes horses will present root. Root is at the base of the tail, so they will present their tail to you, their bum to you. Pay attention. Is there a push in that? If there's a push, you might need to create a boundary and ask them to move away. But if there is this patterned engagement, pay attention. There is a reason for it. So this pattern engagement, again, looks like the horse remains. They might scan with their muzzle. They might ground, so put their own muzzle to the ground. They're not eating or picking up things on the ground generally. They might just touch the muzzle to the ground, and it feels purposeful. So this is how we know the interaction becomes intentional. It's not random, and horses are exceptionally clear with one another. That same clarity appears in horse to human interaction. But often previously, we might have lacked the perceptual training to recognize it. Just a few more little pictures for you. You've already seen the mutual balancing between the horses. On the left, you can see the dark bay gelding working at, well, between throat and heart on this woman. And you can see on her face, there's some lightness, some joy that someone actually has already described. You can actually see that the horse's mouth is open a little bit. He's moving his jaw. You can tell there's some movement in him there. And it's very intentional about throat, communication, heart, love of self and others. So again, we delve into that and start to really learn those main functions. And then once we've allowed our horses to work on us within these mutual boundaries and guidance, as well as learned and practiced deeper understanding, we then can start to facilitate these interactions with our clients. We can allow our horses to formally work on clients and others. So during programs, perhaps an already scheduled EAL program or a lesson, or in a standalone session. These can be built as singular offerings on their own. And these exchanges, this type, when we recognize and allow them, increase self-awareness and enhance every interaction. So you can see some beautiful pictures here from the EAL Academy, from Joanne Routier at Heart Whispers, and then some of my own years and years ago. Different modalities, different ways of doing it, but all the same. The horses are all working in the same method and the same modality. So what is our role as the facilitator? We've clarified what makes an exchange intentional, but the deeper question again becomes, what's our role once that exchange has begun? The client already carries their own knowing. When a horse initiates these intentional interactions, shifts occur physically, emotionally, and in ways that are deeply felt. Many practitioners, we start to understand that these shifts are vibrational in nature. They arise through resonance and attunement within the horse-human field. In Equus Empower, we explore that dimension much more fully, but ultimately it is client-led meaning making. So regardless of how we frame it, the insight belongs to the client. Our role is to remain regulated, allow the exchange to unfold, and then to guide the client back to their embodied own awareness. So instead of assigning meaning, we start to ask specific types of open-ended questions. These questions return authority to the client, and they prevent projection. They protect the integrity of this exchange, and they really honor the spiritual depth of the work and preserve this ethical clarity. You'll notice Vixen again with a client and a facilitator. So you notice she does have a halter on, but you'll notice that the rope is loose. The facilitator is not directing the interaction. It's just there for that safety or boundary element should it arise. Very rarely does, especially when we are very in tune with our horses. But it often can make clients feel a little bit more comfortable initially. We certainly can move into much more liberty-based interactions. So the facilitator role is not to interpret for the client. It is for ourselves to regulate, for us to allow, to practice non-interference, and to allow the client's inner knowing to surface. So the horse initiates, you hold, and the client discovers or rediscovers because that inner knowing is already there. This is sacred work. It requires structure and discernment and some containment. Dr. Stephen Peters recently put out a really interesting quote here in terms of if we apply it to ourselves as facilitators. So every time you step near a horse, you bring a nervous system with you, and the horse reads it, not as judgment, but as survival intelligence. So it's very important for ourselves to do this very important and deep personal work that our horses will help us with, but to ensure that we are doing self-care for ourselves, self-growth, and regulating. Before we close today, I just wanted to briefly share where this work is for those who call or who feel called to explore it more deeply. And again, what we've discussed today are just the foundation levels of the level 1 teachings within my Equus Empowered program. So it's a 9-week learning container. It's designed for people who really want to deepen their ability to recognize these intentional interactions with horses, and then to also understand what is occurring within the nervous system, the fascia, and the vibrational systems. Each week, we go through video teachings which explore the theory and scientific foundations, give you some language. There's also an integrative observation and practice with horses. Those are just my nice words for homework. You're going to go out and apply the teachings from that module. And then we have a weekly live small group, intentionally small, Zoom conversation where we discuss, we reflect, and we deepen the work together. So the intention is not really just to learn concepts, but it is really to define and deepen relationship and then refine your own perception and intuitive abilities if you would like to do that. This work is relational and experiential. So because of that, enrollment now is by application. And really, this just allows me to ensure that the group is aligned and ultimately, and this is most important to me, that I can truly be of service to you and your horses. A connection is incredibly important to me, and also the ability to contribute, so to be of service. Horses first and humans always. If you feel resonance with this work and would like to continue exploring it, you're just warmly welcome to apply. It's short and easy, and there's some prompts in there to maybe also give you a few more resources and a little bit more inner knowing for yourself too. So after this webinar, you'll see a link. We can access that application. But if you'd prefer to connect with me directly, there's the option to schedule a conversation as well. Occasionally, there is someone that prefers to explore this work privately rather than within the group container. So I am just recently starting to offer a small number of private Equus Empowered immersions. So if that feels aligned for you, you can just indicate that on the application. This is so Equus Empowered. Really, what is it? We're refining intuitive perception, strengthening discernment, integrating that vibrational awareness, and holding ethical structure within real sessions, and then deepening the relationship with our equine partners. It does require some practice. It's really helpful to have feedback in the containment, and that is the purpose of Equus Empowered. Again, 9 modules, video theory, integrative practice, and those weekly live integrative sessions. There are a limited number of seats in the next cohort, and I do have a single private spot available. This is the information on the modules. So we're going to do the science of horse language, how horses and humans explain each other. Horse culture, we'll delve more deeply into that. We've touched on that today, and the messages within. Horses and humans, past, present, and future. Where are we going? Where can we continue to go with this work and what the horses are offering? How to hold the space for horses to do this work, interpreting the responses, and then some significant resources for increased awareness. You're going to also build relationship and help your horse find peace in your presence for this work, but this also translates into every other interaction that you have with them. Some of your horses that you work with in programs might also be riding horses, or horses you do ground work with, or other types of offerings and interactions, and it builds it everywhere. Then you're going to practice allowing your horse to work on you, which is profoundly beneficial for you, but incredibly beneficial for the horses too, because we so often expect horses to come into our culture and to assimilate without a lot of regard for theirs. So as we step into their culture and interact with them in that way, it is so good for their physical, emotional well-being. Then you're going to learn the framework to facilitate your horse. How are you going to incorporate this into your programs already? Can you offer them as standalone So there's a business building element there. And then what's next? I do have monthly meetings. I always have access to me in a variety of areas, and the full certification program that is currently being built. So there is an investment. I do have payment plans and discounts. You guys who attended live, thank you so much. And thank you so much for your patience with the technological difficulties. I will have that sorted out if I do another webinar here. There's a special bonus for you. There is a discount applied right off the bat just for attending live. I'm really grateful you're here and for your participation. So just let me know that you attended this training on your application if you do so. Sorry, the investment is $1,295 Canadian. There are discounts if you're already certified with eCoin Connection or the EAL Academy. And I'm always willing to discuss payment plans and other options as well. So what we've touched on today is foundational. Just the very tip of the iceberg. And the depth of this work unfolds through practice and reflection and relationship with your horses and your clients, and also within yourself. So if you feel kind of that quiet knowing that this might be the next layer for you, I'd be honored to walk that path with you. Equus Empowered does provide framework and boundaries and the facilitation structure needed to confidently recognize and ethically hold these intentional energetic exchanges that your horses are really already initiating. And some of you are already seeing it. I know some of you are already feeling it. All of you know there is something more. This will just continue to strengthen that discernment, refine your intuitive perception, and deepen that partnership. It also gives you the language and the containment to integrate this work responsibly. So the language to be able to share it with clients or family and friends or anyone else that you might like to invite into this work, with some language that is grounded and discernible. We do offer those scientific theories in much more depth in modules 1 and 2. So that's part of that integration of this work. The next cohort does begin very soon. And if this resonates with you, you're just warmly invited to apply. I would love to work with you. It's a privilege to support you and your horses in this work. Good. So from here, does anyone have any questions that popped up for you about any interaction that you've experienced with your horses, or anything about the program or anything we've discussed today? And just feel free to unmute yourself and shout it out. Okay, so no specific questions. Can I ask?
I have lots of questions, but I'm going to call you.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay.
I didn't realize what this was about, and now I'm very interested. So I will probably contact you after.
Okay, I would love that. I'd love to connect with you.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. I didn't realize this was working with people to help people.
Oh, okay.
I did not know that. This is something I've been actually looking for a little while.
Wonderful. Okay.
So do you have a place where people come to you now and you work with the horses?
So currently, I used to do some in-person workshops. Currently, it is the online program, and I actually have found that people are able, because we can do way longer of a time together. So people are able to learn and integrate the teaching significantly better in this format. So we do the online. I do as a part of the full certification, if people would like to go ahead. I'm just in the process of building some hands-on. So this is the first theory part. And then I will have a central location people can travel to. I'll travel around as well and do the hands-on portion of the full certification.
Okay. But do you have clients that come to you that work with the horses and they help work them through their stuff?
Oh, yes. So I used to offer these sessions myself for a number of years. I found, however, that I saw so much in the industry where we could be of service to the horses by helping the horse people around them become even better, higher versions of themselves. So that's why I switched into this modality, because I would have facilitators coming and saying, hey, I'd like to learn this, and how do we do it? And so
Right.
that's what I've switched to now. But yes, I did used to have these sessions on my own farm with clients coming.
Very interesting. Okay, I look forward to visiting with you.
Great, me too.
Okay.
Just before you go, this is, if anyone wants to, I'm not going to do the full share because it seems to be freezing constantly. If anyone would like to apply, this is the link you can do that at. So leahdick.com, Equus Empowered application. And if you'd like to book that conversation with me, so Sherry, if you're still here, that would be great if you wanted to even just snap a picture of this.
Okay.
You can go and book a time that works for you on my calendar. So it's the leahdick.setmore.com one.
Okay. Okay, I'll look at it when I go back in the house here.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. Okay, I do have some questions for you all, just to kind of ponder this a little further for you. As you feel into your own relationship with horses or the work that you do with others, start to imagine how your understanding and relationship with your horses and your facilitation with your clients might deepen if you were able to recognize and hold these interactions with greater clarity and confidence. Feel into that a little bit. And as you're thinking about that, well, actually, no, just do that one for a minute. Give yourself 30 seconds or so to write it down or sit and think about how this might shift for you. And then as you're doing that, how might your life change? What would change in your life if you were able to understand more clearly and have a deeper relationship with your horses and even stronger facilitation from where you are even right now? And I know you're all doing quite wonderful things in the world. So how might your life change? And then how might the lives of your horses change if you were really immersed in their culture and they knew they could speak to you in ways that they speak to each other? How might that deepen your relationship? How might that change the well-being or welfare for your horses? You're really understanding what they're offering. So once you've got that, if anyone wants to share, beautiful. If you want to put it in the chat or shout it out, or just sit with it yourselves, whatever resonates for you. Is there anyone here that's still here that's done the Equus Empowered program that might want to share anything that has shifted for them after they took it?
I can, Leah.
Wonderful.
Basically, I already put in the chat there, and I know, Leah, you can't go all back and forth.
Mm.
I just want to I took the Equus Empowerment last January, and it has improved my communication with the herd immensely. So many indicators that they were showing. I'm sure once I started really being more aware of it, they were standing there going, "Oh my God, finally, she's got it." She's listening. But it goes into something that's like so much deeper. It's taken my awareness to a much more heightened level. And I love to watch the expressions and the reactions to the clients that come as we work through what the horses are doing and when we start sharing. And it is uncanny how they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly." So it's almost like the people get a confirmation of what's going on. And to have it come from a horse versus a person saying, "This is going on," it really helps them reflect really deeply. And I can hardly wait until you move into the next level, Leah, and offer that, because this has changed how we do things at Heart Retreat, and the horses are just so much more engaged. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Wow, Sandy, thank you. I'm thrilled for you, and you were already offering really, really amazing things, and your horses were speaking, and it sounds like I love how you say the horses feel like, oh, thank goodness the people understand, but it also becomes, and maybe you can corroborate this, where once you see it, once you see the language and the interactions, you can't ever unsee it again. It becomes really very clear. And I love your explanation of how the clients will resonate with it. Their reactions and their feedback are incredibly powerful because the horses know. All we're doing is listening to what the horses are saying, and then the clients the horses are just saying essentially what the people are deeply saying inside themselves. Thank you so much. That's exciting. Great. Okay, is there anyone that wanted to share what their thoughts were on how their life or their horses might change? Did anything come up for anyone they'd like to discuss? And no problem if not. No, all good. Okay, I'm going to just thank you very, very much for joining. So my intention is that what you've learned a little bit about yourself and horses will just continue to have a positive and empowering influence and act as an uplifting ripple effect out into the world. My feeling is that as we learn and grow and become better, higher versions of ourselves, every being, every person, every horse we interact with, then is the benefit of that. And it might also encourage them to do a little more shifting into their higher growth as we continue to grow, lifelong growth. And that every being they interact with and so forth and so forth, so that it just ripples out in really positive ways that are really good for horses and also incredibly profound for people. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the presentation. So if there's any further questions or you'd like to be in contact in any way, I'm thrilled to connect with you and hope that there was some value for you in this conversation. Great. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and go enjoy. I don't know about you guys, but here in Alberta, we finally have sun and it's above freezing and beautiful out. So I hope you're all having some good weather too. Thanks so much for joining. I will send out this recording, even though it's a little glitchy. Thank you for your, your tolerance with that again. And I'll send you out the recording and kind of any other pertinent information. If you've left me something in the chat that you would like me to send, I will send that out as well. Thanks, you guys. Okay, take care.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining, Kim. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.